Alright, today we're going to work on dividing mixed numbers. We did a little bit of that yesterday. Some of you got ahead and got that lesson finished, some of you didn't, but either way, you're either going to be starting on that or working on it again today. So it's the same as dividing fractions after you change them both to improper fractions. So if I start out with two mixed numbers, 1 2/3 divided by 2 4/5. First thing I do is I'm going to change both of them into improper fractions and rewrite the problem. So to change 1 2/3 into an improper fraction, I take the whole number and multiply it by the denominator, so 1 times 3, and then I bring it up here and add it to the numerator. So it's 1 times 3 plus 2, which would be 5, and it stays over the denominator. The denominator does not change. So I bring down my division symbol, and then I do the same thing with 2 4/5. So 2 times 5 is 10, plus 4 is 14, and then the denominator stays the same, which is 5. Alright, now I have a problem set up as just a fraction divided by a fraction. They're improper fractions, but they're still fractions. So now I keep this the same. I'm going to rewrite it again as a multiplication problem. So 5/3, change this to multiplication and flip this. Alright, now looking at this problem, I've got to figure out if I can do any kind of cross reduction. 5 and 14 do not have a common denominator higher than 1. Neither do 5 and 3. So what I'm going to have to do here is just multiply straight across. So I get 25 over 3 times 14. So I get 14 times 3. 4 times 3 is 12. Carry my 1. 3 times 1 is 3. Plus 1 is 4. So I have 25 over 42 for my answer there. So step 1 is going to be to change both, or change mixed numbers to improper fractions. And that's really the only difference in doing this and then working out a problem with just dividing fractions. Because once you've done this, it's the same thing that we did at the beginning of yesterday. So go ahead and write step 1 on your desk, and then we'll get back to the rest of the steps, which you should already know based on yesterday. Pause the video and write down step 1. Alright, going to work out another one, because also today we're going to be working on dividing whole numbers by fractions. So if I have 4 divided by 2/3, first thing I do is rewrite it. I'm going to write this as a fraction, which would be 4 over 1, divided by 2 over 3. Now they're both in fraction form, so I can keep this the same. Change this to multiplication and flip this. I can cross reduce on this one with the 2 and the 4. 2 will go into each of them. This becomes 1, this becomes 2. 2 times 3 is 6. 1 times 1 is 1. And 6 over 1 is equal to 6. I'm going to do one more problem, one more example problem. I have 6 and 4/5 divided by 2 and 1/3. So now I've got to change both of these into improper fractions, because that's step 1. So 6 times 5 is 30, plus 4 is 34. So I got 34 over 5, because the denominator stays the same, divided by 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7, over 3. Alright, so I look, can I cross reduce? Looking at this, I cannot. So I've got a little bit higher math to do. 34 divided by 7, or 34 times 7. Oh, I made a mistake. I forgot to flip. So I've got 34 divided by 7/3. So now I have to do 34 over 5 times 3 over 7. Looking at it, I still can't do any type of cross reduction on either one of these. So now I'm going to multiply. I know what 5 times 7 is. It's 35. It's one of my math facts. But 34 times 3 I need to work out. 34 times 3. 4 times 3 is 12. Carry my 1. 3 times 3 is 9. Plus 1 is 10. So 102 over 35. 35 will go into 102 2 times. 2 times 35 is 70. So 102 minus 70 is going to give me 32. So it's going to be 2 and 32 over 35. Alright, at this time, I'm going to pull up 3 example problems, and you're going to work them on your desk, and then I will work them out for you to check your work. You're going to do A, B, and C all on your desk. Notice that you get a mixed number divided by a fraction, so you only have to change this one into an improper fraction. It's the same thing with these two as well. Two of them, the divisor is already listed as a fraction, so the only ones you're going to have to change is the dividend on each of these 3. So at this time, pause your laptop and work these 3 problems out. A is 2 3/8 divided by 1/4. So I have to change 2 3/8 into an improper fraction. 2 times 8 is 16. Plus 3 is 19 over 8 divided by 1/4. So now it's set up. All I got to do is keep this the same. Change this to multiplication. Flip this over to 4 over 1. 8 and 4 can simplify. That becomes 2. That becomes 1. And I have 19 over 2. 2 will go into 19 9 times with 1 left over 2. Alright. Switching to B, which is 2.5 divided by 3/7. So I'll get a new page here. B is 2.5 divided by 3 over 7. So I change this. 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5 over 2 divided by 3 over 7. Now I can rewrite it as a multiplication problem. I change this to multiplication, flip this to its reciprocal, which is 7 over 3. There is no cross reduction that can be done here. 5 times 7 is 35. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 will go into 35 5 times with 5 left over 6. Alright, going to do C as well. 5 and 5/8 divided by 3/4. Get a new page here. 5 5/8 divided by 3 over 4. 5 times 8 is 40, plus 5 is 45. So 45 over 8 divided by 3 over 4. Change this to a multiplication problem by changing this and flipping this fraction. So it's 4 over 3. You can cross reduce in both places here. The easiest one to see is 8 and 4. 4 will go into both. That becomes 1, that becomes 2. But 3 will also go into 45. So 3 will go into 3 one time. 3 will go into 45 15 times. So I end up with 15 times 1 and 2 times 1. So 15 times 1 is 15. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 will go into 15 7 times with 1 left over 2. Alright, so you should have worked out 3 problems at this point. You should have been able to check them over. I'm going to write one more example problem to where you can divide a mixed number by a mixed number by changing both to improper fractions. And once you have finished that problem, if you get it correct, you can go ahead and move on into the IXL lessons for today. Alright, so we'll call this D, even though we don't have a D. We're going to go 2 4/5 divided by 1 1/4. So at this time, I want you to pause the video, work this problem out on your desk. Alright, at this point you should have worked this problem. Hopefully you got it correct, but let's check and see. Got to change both of these into improper fractions. So 2 times 5 is 10, plus 4 is going to give me 14 over 5 because the denominator stays the same. Bring down my division symbol. 1 times 4 is 4, plus 1 is 5, so 5 over 4. Alright, now it's still written as it's two fractions in a division symbol, so I've got to keep this one the same, change this to multiplication, and flip this one. Alright, so looking at it, there's no cross reduction that I can do, so 14 times 4 is 56, so I'm at 56 over 25. 25 will go into 56 two times, with 6 left over 25. If you were able to do A, B, C, and D without any problems and get the correct answer, doing the correct work step by step by changing them to improper fractions and rewriting the problem, then changing the two fractions, or the second fraction and the division symbol into a multiplication symbol and the reciprocal, and work out each of the problems, then you are ready to start the lesson for today. The first lesson for today is 6-L7, and then I'll have another one for you after you have completed it. So good luck.